Mike, we should have done this about 2 weeks ago on Memorial Day. Was sort of we look at those little posts in a baseball season.
Right.
We're talking Phillies here,
poll.
folks.
Now we're at the third poll.
It's about a third of the way through the season. Yep. Yeah, I can't make out what to think of this team. One time I'm starting to think they're turning a corner. Then I get really frustrated with their approach at the plate, or really frustrated with the bullpen. They can't help all of the injuries, although I think they need to get a new trainer in there because there's just too many injuries that come up. But you look at Contreras out for the year. That was a heck of an injury. Halliday's out. Worley's just coming back. Utley, Howard. And yet they're still hovering right now. As we're doing this taping, 500 again. They were more than that. How do you put this team into perspective? What do you say?
I think they're average. I mean, and they're a 500 team. I was just looking at their stats. They actually rank higher offensively than they do in terms of run prevention, which you wouldn't have thought. They're like 5th or 6th in the league, but they're around the middle of the pack in both areas, which are pretty much everything in the game. And I just think that offensively. They're getting old, and they're getting old generally, not just offensively, but offensively we figured they were going to struggle, and they have. I don't think worse than I expected. They went through a little stretch where their balls were falling in a little more, singles were going through the infield, that kind of thing.
That happens.
And then they won a little more, and now they're struggling again. I just think they're a very average team.
If they can score 4 runs, that's really pretty good. But they struggle to get those 4 runs. They lost 4-3 last night. I wrote a comment at the beginning of the year. You had some too. We saw some of this coming, and yet I'm still getting upset about it. I'm not sure why.
Well, I think we saw it coming, but you still expect Halliday, Hamels, Lee are gonna. You're gonna win 90 games just if those guys just do what they're supposed to do. But that is in question a little bit now with Halliday being hurt. Hamels has been terrific. Lee's been good, although he hasn't gotten a lot of wins, but he's pitched very well. So that part of it has crumbled, and they are an old team. They're an old team, and so many things so many ways that manifests itself are manifesting themselves with the Phillies.
And Lee has not been as good as he has other years. I haven't seen a click in June last year. He wasn't giving up any runs in so many outings. And Halliday has not been anywhere near it. The only one of those 3 that's been even a little bit above that was Hamels. And I wonder if it's because it's a contract year and he's playing for it. But as he keeps doing better, I keep thinking, get this guy signed.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I think at this point, if I had to bet, I would bet on him going to Los Angeles before I would bet on him staying here.
Sure.
I mean,
he's from the West Coast.
He's a Southern California guy. Their team has really turned around their fortunes as their ownership has turned around. Sure. And I shouldn't say I don't expect him to be back, but again, if I had to bet, I would say he's going to L.A. next year. So there's. That kind of hangs over the whole thing.
You look at this, and a couple years back, I like Howard, like him a lot, but I thought they shouldn't have signed him to the deal they signed him to. And some of these deals they did,
much for him,
look at the Eagles, and over the years, you get frustrated when the Eagles let a guy go when he turned 30. But in most cases, they weren't wrong. And in this case, I'm looking at some of these guys the Phillies have locked up, and it's going to be huge contracts. They're stuck with these guys.
That aging,
and Hamels is the one they should have kept.
That aging process is so acute in football. But I think Ruben Amaro has got to realize it's more acute than the Phillies think in baseball too, and that is a problem.
I don't think you're going to see Shane Victorino back because you just can't sign everybody, and you can't the payroll's out of control. That being said, they're last place, but they're 500. They're in a division that I won't say it's a bad division because every team is 500 or better.
It has some depth. It has some depth. Yeah,
nobody's emerged yet, so they're still in contention. Can they win this thing yet?
I would not bet on them winning their division because I think the teams ahead of them are pretty solid teams, and you got to beat 4 of them. I mean, the one that's a surprise is the Mets. I don't think anybody thought the Mets were going to be as good as they've been, but they've pitched pretty well and been okay. David Wright kind of reemerged. I don't think they can win the division, but you always have this out there. If Utley and Howard come back. And Halliday gets healthy. Carlos Ruiz has become a terrific player, and it's not over yet. They're an average team, and they're in it. They're in it. They got a chance.
But they got to change the mentality. I got to bring up one thing. You told me Utley went 3 for 4 yesterday in Clearwater, hits a home run
with a home run and a double.
Okay. You don't play him in second. You got a young guy, put Galvis there, move him to first or outfield if Howard ever comes back. The other thing is, you mentioned Ruiz. I got to say this. when Howard and Utley are in there, they are not your 3 and 4 hitters anymore. I'm sorry, Howard's put Ruiz there. He's hitting that well enough. Put Howard behind him. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I'm okay with
just
that.
start
I don't
changing
object
with
to
the
that.
personnel you have, or if a young guy emerges, get him in there. Stop this rut.
Right now, his OPS is over 1,000 for you stat fans out there, and he's an excellent defensive catcher. I mean, he probably has been one of the best 5 or 10 players in the National League.
He's the MVP on the team.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.